Okay, we are officially recording. And it's 11 o'clock on the dot. Looks like everyone is here. Thank you for joining us today. And we're switching it up, and Kyle is going to be advancing the slides in the background, and I am actually leading the conversation. So if you get tired of my voice, you might just have to suffer through this one today and leave the feedback in the comments that you prefer his velvety soft voice to my screechy Mickey Mouse voice. All right, well, welcome everyone. Next slide, please. So you guys know the drill on how to work in a virtual environment. If you want to put something in the chat, we've got our little button on the far left. If you want to see who everyone is, you can click on the people sign. If you want to ask a question, you can try and raise your virtual hand. I may or may not call on you. Just kidding, I will call on you. And if you'd like to do a little reaction, so that's one of the fun features of working in Microsoft Teams is you can applaud one another or virtually laugh or express virtual shock. However, since we are all on camera today, you can also just show your truly shocked face. That works too. Settings. So some of you, before we started recording, noticed how I played with my background a little bit. If you would like to have a virtual background, we have that feature. And if you would like to eat off camera and not have everyone see you chew, you can turn your camera off. And you might want to turn your mic off when you're chewing also. And so that's the next one over. And if you would like to share something, give us a heads up because we are recording at this time. So it will be preserved for all posterity, whatever you decide to share. And please don't leave the meeting just yet, but the big red button is how you leave. So thanks everyone for sitting through the flight attendant section of our agenda. Next slide. So today we're going to be talking mostly about data reporting. I know your favorite subject, but hopefully we will get you interested in learning more about some of the changes that we're making about how the reporting is done, and also offer some suggestions amongst your peers about how to make the most of the new system. Zachary is going to answer questions about some of the specifics behind that. And next slide, please. Ground rules. You guys are all familiar with one another and you know how to interact. Embrace curiosity. We're all still figuring it out, us included here at Virginia Main Street. So be sure to take space, but also make space for others. And please don't let this be the end of the conversation. Stay connected with us and stay connected with each other at the end of the day. So next slide. All right. I don't know why Kyle said break in. Maybe this is where we do some break dancing, or maybe this is an icebreaker, but reflecting on the last quarter, what can your Main Street program celebrate? What's got you and your board excited? And I'll just start with my upper left-hand corner. I see Rebecca Logan just chomping at the bit to answer this question.
You didn't even give me a moment to think about that. So what can we celebrate? We can celebrate a project that our design committee has been working on for almost 2 years, is nearing completion. It is our Gateway Triangle Garden, and it looks unbelievable. We are waiting to put in some seasonal plants, but other than that, it's looking great. And what's really great is the comments around town are all fantastically positive. So I'm very happy, and that is something to celebrate. Yay. I could show pictures.
Yes, that's what the share feature is for. Thank you, Rebecca. And for those of you who don't know, I actually lived in Lexington a very long time ago. And that triangle has looked that way since I was 3 years old. So it's definitely great to see that change. Diana West, you're next on my screen.
Okay, well, I would say that we have to celebrate the fact that we are most of the way through our strategic market analysis. So we've done the survey, we've done the asset mapping event, and we have done the focus groups. So now we are just waiting to hear back from Matt Wagner. So that is a good sign of progress for us.
Great. And why don't you pass the mic to someone, Diana?
Well, let's see. Why don't I hand it to my own colleague, Jennifer?
I'm muted. So super excited. I've been working with a business restaurant that was the initial winner of the CBL program from prior to my time when $100,000, the grant was awarded from the governor's office and whatnot. That restaurant, it has grown in the 6 years, and we are moving her into a new space, literally right today, yesterday, tomorrow, so she can get ready to serve people Thursday evening and then be ready for her grand opening on Friday. So that's one of the things we are celebrating right now.
Great. And who would you like to pass the mic to, Jennifer?
Oh my gracious, Diana Schwartz, you know what's coming your way, girl.
Thank you. You guys are cracking me up this morning. Courtney, you're on stand-up mode, and Jen's always in stand-up mode. I think I will state the obvious, which is the Great American Main Street Award. So clearly very excited about that. Thank you. The hardest part of all of it is picking a date in May to celebrate. So if you're trying to do any kind of events in May, good luck with that. Everything's a conflict, but other than that, I'll say it again because there's more people on. I appreciate the support that I get from my fellow Main Street managers because this job is insane and crazy. It takes crazy people to do it, and crazy people have to support each other. So I'm really, really grateful for all of you.
And Diana, who would you like to pass the mic to?
Oh, then there's that. Let's see. I have to go back to the people. Glad you told us how to use this thing. Kathy Stewart. We'll call Kathy out.
Hey, thank you. Congratulations to you as well. As if you haven't heard me mention, we opened the Lyric Theater this quarter, so that has been our biggest reason to celebrate, and programming is coming along, doing very well. So we're happy. We're happy with that.
Great. And Kathy, who would you like to pass it to?
Well, let's see. I have to look to see who's here. I'm going to go with let's see. I'm looking at the list. Let's go with Andrea Dono because we didn't get to see her in Boston, so everybody needs to see her face today.
Hey everybody, sorry I missed you all. I hope we get to go to the next conference. We're really excited that we revised our bylaws for the first time since our organization was founded in 2003. And we also had a great partnership with JMU. We had a President's Fellow help us design our soon to be launched, hopefully, accessible downtown initiative to help make our businesses and our events more accessible to people with physical disabilities and autism for children. So we'll let you know how that goes. We have an application out for funding, so fingers crossed.
And who would you like to pass it on to, Andrea?
I'm trying to access the people too. How about Ashley?
Hi. I'm excited about just working through our first CBL. It's been a really just super, super fun time. We've got 22 still in the program, two weeks left to go, and then they pitch, and we're just, I don't know, we're just really excited about it. So not necessarily an accomplishment yet, but I guess the accomplishment has been just how good I feel like the classes are going and how excited we are to get some of these in downtown storefronts. I'm going to pick a name at random here. Joelle.
Hi, guys. I got called out on that one. Thanks. Okay. Well, we have been going through some things, and I think at this point in time, what the board and I can both agree on that has us both excited is the potential for a new mural. It's something that we've been trying to get going for a while. The artist we wanted to use changed his style and it didn't quite gel. And the space we were going to use was a difficult space. But luckily, one of our board members bought a building with a beautiful space. We're using a local artist who just opened her gallery in Old Town, and she's phenomenal. If you want to check her out, her name is Taylor. Oh, and here I go again. Sorry, give me one moment and I will find her last name because she does such beautiful work. Taylor Boyd. And so she is going to be doing this gorgeous mural on the side of a building coming right into town. And then there's going to be a 3D aspect. We were looking at doing a 3D fox because we're in horse and fox country. And just a little added something. So it'll be very Instagrammable, very social media friendly, and it's going to depict the Blue Ridge Mountains, and it'll be gorgeous. So I think that that is something that my board and myself are very excited about.
And who would you like to pass the mic to?
Let's see. See, now I have to go back through the list. And it's not letting me see. You know what? I'm just going to say random. Let's go with Kathy. Kathy, are you there?
Kathy's already been picked.
Oh, I knew that. Oh my God, I knew that. Sorry.
That's
okay. She's like, I'm not going again. Let's go with, and I'm horrible with this. Sorry, guys. Show participant.
How about Alex? Let's go with Alex Flanagan.
That's good. Yes, let's go with Alex.
Good morning, everybody.
Hi.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot going on with our program right now, but I think the thing that probably we're most excited about right now, the thing that is sort of a new direction for us, is we've been doing every single month like a community check-in session. So every month on the third Thursday of the month, we do a community input session with all of our stakeholders. It's open to the public. We host them in City Hall, and there's like a different soft topic every month that's been structured, and it has just been such a game changer in terms of getting information out to the community, but also really building on this sense of transparency and trust and relationships that we're then finding we're a lot more able to trade on. So even when people aren't coming to the meetings, now they know they're happening, and I feel like there's a lot less complaining about there's no way for us to find out what's going on, we're never heard from, et cetera, because they know that there is that chance to do it every single month. And we've had some really great conversations in those. We've had some really great relationship building, and it's just really, really helped set us on a much better tenor for the year, I think, and helped a lot with that aspect of it. So that makes all the rest of the work easier, and it's really, really cool. It's definitely worth the time it takes to set those up and run them every month.
Great, thank you, Alex. And who would you like to pass the mic to?
Let me see. I'm going to pass it to Todd if Todd's here.
Yeah, I think he's here. Thank you, guys. I think for us, we were working with Google on the Grow with Google program in the last quarter. So finally getting our launch off the ground and kind of getting the program implemented to communities in the region has been a huge weight off our shoulders. So we're excited to get that done, and we hope to work with all you guys on the call in some capacity in the next 6 to 8 months of trying to bring some of these Google trainings to your local businesses, local community. So if you want to learn more about that program, I'd be glad to talk to you about how we can work with you all to try to make it work in your community. And I'll pass it to, how about Maggie? She's probably sidetracked.
I think you mean me, Maggie, right? In Ashland? Okay.
Yes.
So I'm Maggie Longest. I'm in Ashland, and I hired my first full-time employee this quarter. So it's a complete game changer. So yeah, that's we were able to hire a marketing director. So she'll take over all of our external communication and event planning over the next year. It'll be a transition, of course, but super excited that I can better focus on business support and design elements directly. So.
Thank you, Maggie. Who would you like to pass the mic to?
Let's see. Who hasn't talked yet? How about Karen Zamorski?
Hi, thank you. Yeah, here in Cape Charles, we're very excited because it's a project that's been a long time coming. Our train is finally going through refurbishment. We got the land secured, we got a track built, we got the train put there, and the metal guy is now securing it, getting rid of all the rust spots, putting all the sheet metal on, and we have a group getting ready to paint it as soon as he's done. So that's the first part. And the second part, Town Council approved the building of a 5-bathroom station next to the train because we have no public restrooms in the historic district that aren't porta potties. So it's a big deal for us. So we'll have going to move our offices over there when it's done. We're hoping by the end of this year. So it's well on its way. We're finally getting moving. Okay, keep it on the Eastern Shore. Jenny.
Thank you. That's a big deal for Cape Charles. I'm excited about that. We have our mural artist in town. This is something we were looking forward to. So he's in town from Virginia Beach for 2 weeks, and he's in the middle of painting a beautiful mural that has flowers and pollinators in the center of downtown. Then he's moving on to a second mural, which will be up on a second-story building that you'll see when you're driving into town. And we also hired another mural artist who's coming from Ohio, and he will be painting a historic mural on the side of the theater from July to September. And we're very excited about the mural project. And there's a lot more going on, but I'll limit it to that. And who hasn't gone yet? Has Heather gone?
Hello, everybody. I am excited because this is about to happen, but we've been planning it since the beginning of the year, and it's front of mind right now. We're having a big open house tour in downtown next Thursday, so please do a rain dance to make sure it doesn't rain. We're showing off 3 properties in downtown. Some of them are pretty large that are undergoing renovation, and then we're having a reception afterwards, and we already have 100 tickets that have gone out. So we are probably splitting the group up into several rotating tours, and so there's a lot of coordination. We're super excited, but we're partnered with our economic development director for the city, with our chamber, and with Virginia's Gateway Region, which is our regional economic development group, to do this. And everyone's being really great and helping us figure it out. So very excited about that. Felt like it was months away, and now it's next week. So it's also kind of scary, but it's going to be great. And I don't know if I was the last one. So
no, let's go with Brendan in Fredericksburg.
Okay. Hey, Brendan.
He's off mute. I just can't hear him. Okay, Brendan, we'll come back to you later. You might be having some technical difficulties. Jackie Elliott.
Good morning, everybody. So we have a lot going on here in Luray. One of the big things that I'm really excited about is I've been working on our volunteer program, rebuilding that, and we are having some success with that. We have already have people that are starting to sign up. It's awesome because we have a lot of retirees in our community. So I've been really reaching out to that demographic and seeing about getting some folks that want to spend a few hours a day helping out. So we're excited with that. We have new board members that have joined our board, and I'm super excited with my board of directors because there's a lot of energy and a lot of positive commitment, which is excellent to have. We need that kind of support. We have 2 new restaurants that have opened, and we have a 3rd one on the way. We are also moving forward with our co-workspace that we've been working on, and the Luray Downtown Initiative and the Chamber of Commerce. We are co-hosting a farmers market the 3rd Saturday of every month at our visitor center. So just a lot of really fun things going on, and we have a really good momentum going right now with our Main Street.
Great. Thank you, Jackie.
And you're welcome. And has Andrea gone?
She has.
Okay. How about Nancy Alexander?
Nancy, you are up.
All right. Oh, goodness. We have an awful lot of stuff going on, but I want to tell you all about a fashion show that was done this past Sunday. It was a partnership between a local distillery and about 13 clothing, boutique, salon, different stores downtown. And it just sort of exploded. It took on wings. So like 6 boutiques modeled their clothes that can be purchased downtown. I heard this morning that some people were actually going to the pop-up shops as clothes were going down the runway to purchase. So it was a really good opportunity for folks to see what downtown Farmville has to offer, and created a lot of excitement among the boutiques. And so now they're talking about next year we can roll the red carpet out down Main Street and have the event on Main Street. So we're hoping that will become ultimately a fundraiser for our organization.
Great. And who would you like to pass the mic to, Nancy?
Is Alta Vista here?
David?
David?
I do not see David on the list. We'll talk to him about that later. Sure. Jessica Jenkins. Okay, Jessica is on mute. Let's talk to Ken Heath. Ken, can you join us?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. How are you?
Good.
Good. Making sure you can hear me. Oh, hush. My wife is talking back to me now. Things are good in Marion. We've got lots of good things coming up for our season farmers market. We're doing a Derby Day at the market. We've got about $9 million worth of grant projects we're working on right now with housing and recreation. New restaurant opening up downtown, a new bakery. Vacancy rate still under 4% throughout the town. And the most we're excited about, Todd up in Wytheville has got the Millwall reopened. So the partnership with the historic theaters is working out great between the Cameo and Paramount in Bristol, the Barter in Abingdon, the Lyric up in Blacksburg, Marion and Wytheville, and all the way up to the Harvester. There's some great things going on there. The folks over in St. Paul, they have a Mio Puerto that's opened up in their hotel just like we have. So the regional synergy is great for Southwest Virginia, and we couldn't be more excited.
Thank you, Ken. And since we're getting down to the last few people, I will just call on the last couple. Vanessa, what would you like to share?
Hey, everybody. Thank you. Well, Tazewell is busy as well. We are working on a partnership with the town right now to put a pavilion in our green space in town. And we actually were able to relocate the farmers market, which was something we had struggled with for years. So we're really looking forward to working with the farmers market finally. And we've worked on rebranding them, and we're getting a bunch of banners and billboards put up in town. Sorry. We are also working on, our promotion committee is right now working on like beautification projects to take all of the like busted billboards from the area and turn them into rebranding efforts just for our organization in general. And we have some really wonderful new board members that have just joined us. Yesterday was our board orientation. We have 3 wonderful board members.
Great, thank you. And last but not least, we have Kirsten Kiefer from Manassas. Kirsten, did you want to say anything?
Good morning. No, I sent something in the chat. I'm representing Manassas today. Mark Olson just brought me on board to help him out a little bit here, and today is literally my first day. So just by order of introduction, I'll be working alongside Manassas City. We just have a few of our first Fridays coming up, as well as our Railway Fest here. So just getting up to speed, literally 2 hours in, but it's nice to meet you all and look forward to continued collaboration.
Thank you so much. And I know that we didn't catch everyone, but we did our best with the technology that we have. And I apologize if someone was not able to speak that really wanted to. But we'll go ahead and move on to the next slide. Wanted to remind you guys about some upcoming events. So we have our spring rev ups. Those are in-person meetings throughout the state, and we will be hosting them May 16th, 17th, and 18th. So if you are on the more eastern part of the state, Fredericksburg might be the closest place for you. If you're more towards the middle and south, Alta Vista might be a better spot. And then in Southwest, Bristol will be the best place for you to come. But you might have other plans and find that one of those other locations on another day works better for you. So we're really looking forward to seeing everyone in person in different parts of the state in May. And of course, the topic will be diverse funding and sustainable program operations. So how you develop that funding base that really sets you up for success for the long term as an organization. And Jennifer Goldman will be the primary presenter. I know some of you have worked with her in the past, and I'm hoping that she will have some great exercises, homework, and even potential follow-up and technical assistance from that training. So it's one that you don't want to miss. Then in July, we have another webinar on strategy-driven programming. So making sure your programs are fitting into your strategic objectives and plans. And in September, we have another Rev Up series. So regional Rev Ups, those will be in September. Go ahead and mark the 3 days on your calendar. Kyle is going to be reaching out to specific managers. We have tentatively chosen the locations, but we just need to work with 3 of you to firm those up. And by the next time we get together, those should be finalized and ready for you to start making your travel plans. And then finally, we have a webinar coming up in November about demonstrating impact and results, which is one of the primary topics that we'll be talking about today. So Kyle, could you move through to the next slide? Thanks. And just a heads up before we move on to talk about data reporting. Grants. So I know that almost all of you have grant projects in the queue. So far, we have 36 applications, but we have 3 grant programs, and we would like for everyone to apply for at least 1 grant, if not 2. And some of you are even eyeing 3 or 4. So don't hold back. This is the year. This is when we have quite a lot of funding available through the ARPA program. And we want to be sure that we are investing in projects that help recover from the pandemic and its negative economic impacts on your districts and communities. So please Reach out to your program administrators if you have an idea that you would like to flesh out in an application. At this stage in the game, we're still able to review applications and give you feedback to make sure that that's as competitive as it can be. All of this funding is competitive, so you really have to put your best foot forward and help tell the story of the project, because not everyone who is reviewing the application is necessarily familiar with your community or your project. Jenny, did you have a question?
Is the Resurgence on that list as well?
Resurgence is not on this list, but it also closes on April 28th. And yeah,
Okay.
someone is just going to add it there right now in real time.
Perfect.
So
I thought maybe
Resurgence.
we had a little longer to apply, but no such luck.
No. Yeah, so all of them are due April 28th, and I believe CBL is as well. So a lot of deadlines all coming in at the same time, and we're hopeful that we'll have the reviews for all of those complete by the end of May. One program that's on this list, mixed use on Main Street, the tongue twister program, that is not necessarily due on April 28th. That has a rolling deadline.
And
Who
with the
else?
financial feasibility grant, just to say that that is rolling also.
Yes. Are there any other hands raised? I can't quite tell. Okay. All right. Design services. So you guys have actually collectively really blown the doors off of the facade rendering program this year. And that's great. That means that activity in facade improvements is back up again. Please, if you have a request, go ahead and get that in with Fraser and Associates now. The link is available through our Facebook group, and the password there is VMS Documents. Try and get those requests in as soon as you can so that Kathy is able to budget out time through the rest of this fiscal year. And then on July 1st, that set of services will renew and we'll be back on track again. But we're in this final quarter, just trying to make sure that we get all those facades queued up. And if we're not able to get you by the end of June, it will begin again in July. Center for Nonprofit Excellence, feel free to reach out to them directly, but I know that we're also organizing some board trainings as an intermediary so that it's a little bit more hefty. So sometimes CNE will provide more than just phone call assistance, and we try and help coordinate to make sure that you're getting the best possible response and technical assistance from them. So next slide, please. Without further ado, we're going to talk about your favoriteest of all time topics, reports and CAMs. So we have shifted the economic development data from a spreadsheet-based system to CAMs. And the reason why we're doing this is that as government changes and evolves and hopefully gets smarter and better, we're actually using the data that gets reported in CAMs to report up to all the way to the governor's office about the success of your programs. So we're very easily able to compile the data in CAMs and say, the Virginia Main Street communities have created so many jobs this month, this quarter, this year. And doing it through CAMs makes it much quicker for us to tabulate and also to show geographic dispersion. So it's part of good governance practice for us to do that. Your responses are still confidential. We still only report that information in aggregate, and we're trying to involve the program administrators a little bit more in reviewing that information so that it's not just Zachary seeing it, that then we're able to spot potential opportunities to support your programs a little bit earlier. So we collect this data not just for state government, but also for Main Street America. They want this information on an annual basis. State government is now wanting to see it on a monthly basis. We're not quite there yet as a group, so please don't think like we're pushing you this minute to be reporting every month. But that facility is available now through CAMS if that's what you like to do. And we hope that you're also keeping this information for your local programs. So if you are reporting this data to us, you also will be able to compile it for yourselves. And we're hoping that we're able to actually create some local printouts that will generate statistics that you can share with local government and other partners. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Zachary, and he can talk to you a little more about the technical elements of reporting through CAMS.
Thanks, Courtney. So everyone should be familiar with CAMS, but we do have a few new and or fairly new directors here. So let's just quickly review how to access these monthly reports. First, you'll need to visit the CAMS home page and enter your email address and organization's password to log in. For quick access, I do recommend that you just bookmark this page. After you've logged in, you'll simply select projects and reports in the navigation bar at the top of the page to view your project list, as well as the reporting schedule. Keep in mind, though, that your ability to manage projects in the project list or complete and submit reports really does depend on your primary or assigned role in CAMS. So double check on that if you are a new director or new to CAMS altogether. Under your project list, you should see your EDD monthly reporting project listed, and you'll want to select detail to access the project management page. Once you're there, check out the reports and documents tab to view and or access your assigned monthly reports. Just a few quick and easy steps. Next slide, please. Under the Reports and Documents tab, once you get there, you should see reports from January to June 2023, and more specifically, which ones have not been started and or those that are incomplete, submitted, and accepted by VMS staff. If you haven't seen the new report template, take a look at that and get a feel for what's required. The report has been simplified to some degree, and not too much has changed at all with regard to what data you're used to reporting to us. However, there are two new additions, one being the total number of promotional and special events that your organization, emphasis on your organization, held within the district, and the total number of attendees at those events. And the other being the number of new housing units placed in service within your Main Street district. And as noted in the report template, you'll see that placed in service means certificate of occupancy issued. So work with your municipalities on that piece. And per usual, data should be collected from primary sources, including business and property owners. And VMS encourages your organizations to reiterate to your sources that all data collected, as Courtney mentioned, is confidential and will only be released as part of an overall downtown aggregate. Next slide. So with that being said, the VMS team would like to hear what data collection tips and or best practices that you all have that can be shared with the group. But before doing that, though, I do want to highlight Farmville's business activity survey, because Farmville Downtown Partnership has done a good job of retooling the CAMS report template into a really straightforward survey that's distributed downtown. And we're happy to share that with you and Nancy and Farmville can as well. Nancy, if you're okay with it, would you like to talk a little bit more about how that's been working for FDP and just kind of kick off discussion for us here? I believe Ellie will be taking notes and jotting down what's shared from the group.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I inherited that business form when I started last fall, so I can't claim that that we invented anything great, but up until that time, it had been being sent out by email. And because I wanted to meet people and get involved in the community, I started just walking a copy around to each business person, introducing myself, asking them to fill it out. And that sort of was the foundation of building my relationships with the downtown community. Since then, we've started to put it out through a weekly newsletter that we do on MailChimp to all of the downtown businesses. And then the other thing I do is just sort of, now that I'm learning the community and I know a little bit more what's going on, I just, track. So I'm aware of stuff that's happening. I was at the Board of Supervisors meeting the other night and they announced that they're going to be rebuilding the cupola. So you can bet I'll be tracking that for public investment. And I also am trying to keep more aggressive notes in my meetings so I can track volunteer hours better. I know, that 10 people sat in a room for 2 hours to discuss whatever. So it's really just, I'm trying to be proactive on data collection so that when I come to the end of the month, it's not such an overwhelming task like it was when I started back in September.
Great. And I think Kyle put, I think that was you, Kyle, that put the WordPress file in the chat for everyone to access. And we can email that out too when we send the recording and stuff. Does anybody else have any tips or best practices on how they collect data, how they work with their municipalities and other partners to capture some of this information?
I have a question.
Sure.
Maggie and Ashland, I, as of late, have been very careful not to list business improvements unless they're part of the business's building permit, in an effort, because this is public information that we obviously share with our municipalities as well, and that if improvements were made that were not reported to the municipality, I certainly don't want to be the one getting between the business and the municipality on that. So how are you how do you expect us to handle that? If surveying the businesses would give me information that isn't official.
Rebecca, you're muted if you were saying something.
Here we go. I keep hitting it too many times. I actually work right directly with our city planner, and he sends me at the end of every month how many permits were issued and for what. So that might be one way
as well. That's why I was pointing out that a discrepancy between your report and their building permits could be problematic for the business owner.
Yeah.
Courtney, do you have any insights on and Maggie's question about, what's official versus?
Well, just because you're collecting the data for your use doesn't mean that you have to report it to us. So you're collecting information for your own purposes as an organization. The statistics, and you will find information through your survey activity that is not even relevant necessarily to our instrument. It's also for your use. It's not just for our numbers. And I think Ashley had a question.
Yeah, let me put my salad down for a second.
Sorry.
So I know I should have this in front of me, but I'm correct in saying that the new reporting has new questions, right? There is more information that you're gathering from this new report than previous ones.
It's just the only thing that has changed with the report, like I mentioned, is just the promotional and special events and the housing certificate of occupancies, issued. Everything else is still the same, if not simplified. We're no longer looking for property addresses, business names in particular, just general descriptions of improvements. It's a little bit more pared down, if anything, compared to the previous surveys or the forms that you've had to complete through the spreadsheet.
Okay. For some reason, I thought I saw different data, so I'll go back and look and see if there's anything.
Now, in terms of like the business closings, expansions, kind of relocating outside the district, that's a little bit more spaced out and separated. So it may look like there's more information there, but essentially it's the same information, just a little bit more separated out into the CAMS template.
Okay, thanks. I'll look at it specifically and see if there was one particular one I had a question on. Thanks.
Sure.
Tagging on Ashley's question, Maggie and Ashland again, whose events are you asking us to keep track of? I found that question as I was filling out the form.
So we've had some other directors ask that, and I think as a team, we talked about that yesterday, and we're going to be updating the instructions to specifically note this under the things to consider section for promotional and special events. So we want this to be your organization's events. You shouldn't necessarily need to be tracking what the chamber's doing, what this organization's doing, what the municipality's doing. This should be your organization's events in the district.
Hey, Zach, this is Karen in Cape Charles. Is there a way to download that form so that we have all the questions? Because I have a very difficult time sometimes getting the information on the permits out of the town on a quarterly basis, let alone a monthly basis. And if I can somehow take this form, set it up, and just fire it off to them, you know what I'm saying? Is there a way to do that?
We talked about that yesterday as well, because that's come up too. So I'm glad you asked. Apart from just printing it as a PDF, I'm actually going to be creating a new Excel form version of the template so that you all have this in an easy to access and use format. Even though data is still going to be required to be submitted in CAMS, that will just be for your benefit to do what you're saying, Karen, and for others to present to their board members, or however you kind of report that back to your stakeholders, or so on and so forth. So that'll be coming soon, likely into this week, sometime next week, for you all to utilize.
Andrea, did you still have a question?
Yeah, it's more of a statement, actually. I was going to let everyone know that I find that whatever's on the permit that's submitted by a property or business owner, what they end up spending is almost always higher, and sometimes a great deal higher. So someone who said that they had a $7,000 sign on a new building, it was really a $55,000 project. So just know that some people put in different amounts because that impacts what they pay the city. And you can get higher numbers for your reports if you ask them. And sometimes if you know the contractor who are working with them, they can give you a good ballpark if that person's not forthcoming, or if they're a new property or business owner and you guys don't have that trust yet. You sometimes can get some of the information verified by the property owners.
I think I saw Nancy had raised her hand. Maybe not.
Yeah, no, I did, because what I wanted to say really follows up on what was just said. If I tried to go through the building permits and the town, I would end up with zero, because Farmville downtown merchants don't really follow the rules, number one. And number two, they'll do, they may be replacing an air conditioner or doing something that doesn't really require a building permit per se. So I think that personal connection and being involved with what your downtown community is doing is an important part of collecting those numbers.
And even apart from, private investment and working with property owners and, others, does anyone have any best practices or tips around working with your municipality to get those public investment numbers? You probably all have your, local contacts at the town or city level, but I didn't know if there was any variation to how you all kind of approach that or not within your district to get them to narrow it down. Maybe not. Kyle, do you have your hands raised?
Well, it had more to do, made me think after Andrea's comment that, what if you need to go back and edit a number because you found out that the expense was much greater? What's the process for that? You're muted. Sorry.
Okay, so if you submit one of your monthly reports via CAMS and need to go back and edit it, or you realize you've made a mistake, just let us know and we will simply deny that report. All that means is you can go back in and edit it and then resubmit it for us to accept. So that's the only way that you can go back in and edit it, is for us to deny it. So just let us know, get in touch with us, and we'll take care of that process for you. Any other things that you'd want to share with the group before we move forward?
I guess I'll just echo what Karen is saying. I think it's going to be a real challenge to get information out of the municipalities in a timely manner, and at the point, like by the end of the month that it's from, perhaps there could be more flexibility in those deadlines, and more editability. Like being able to go back and edit reports and add data would be really crucial for us, especially if we're doing a lot word of mouth. And so
And I'll let Courtney chime in if she needs to clarify, but I think from the VMS standpoint that yes, these reports are due monthly, but you are encouraged to still approach this as you see fit, but still maintaining the understanding that come time to draw down funds or remittances in CAMs, that's just when overdue reports can present an issue for that. So if you're overdue on a monthly report and need more time to complete that, you may need a couple weeks after it's due to get those numbers from your municipality. Whatever the reason, I believe that is okay. It's just a matter of when we need to draw down funds with remittances that it becomes an issue. So it's about finding that balance and keeping up with those deadlines per se.
And you can start filling out a report and continue to add to that report without submitting it.
Right.
But once you submit it, then we can see what's in it. If it's an in-process report, we'll not be able to see the information that's there, and you can continue to edit it. After it's submitted it, that's when we can see it. We'll double check it. If we have questions, we'll ask them, but if not, then we'll move it through to approve and clear the pathway for funds to be distributed through remittances.
And I think I saw a question, I'm not sure who asked it, but after a report has been submitted and it's been accepted, I am not sure. I'd have to go check and test this out to see if we can deny it after that to open it up for edits again. There may need to be a period to where we wait and, check on it and see, but I think Blair just said we could reassign it very easily. We could just delete it and then open it back up for you to complete. That's a little clunky, but we can definitely work with you all on a case-by-case basis if something like that is needed.
I have one more question. When we're talking about the residential units, are we speaking just within the outline of our districts? Because that's something, okay, because we technically have no houses in the district, so it's all going to be above, mixed use.
Sure. Yeah,
Okay,
whatever is applicable to you, it may vary district to district,
Okay.
I think Kathy Stewart has a question. Her hand's raised.
Yes, I want to go back to the events and promotional events. Okay, so I'm not going to count the events that we actually have at the Lyric, because that's events, that's a separate thing now. But if I'm having an offsite fundraiser for the Lyric, do I count that as an event because it's offsite? And I have a couple other events that are offsite that are fundraisers that we've been doing. So do I count those as events even though they're for the Lyric now, which is open?
I'm going to let Courtney answer that one.
So is the Main Street organization organizing that event, Kathy?
Yes, me.
Okay. Yes. Then if the Main Street organization is organizing it and the purpose is a Main Street purpose, then yes, you would count that attendance.
Okay, thank you.
And
Do you count the Lyric as a part of St. Paul tomorrow?
We do, because it is under the leg. It's still under that nonprofit. So
it's not its own separate nonprofit at this point.
It is not its own separate nonprofit. It is under the Lyric, under the St. Paul Tomorrow. But
so then events at the Lyric should count for St. Paul Tomorrow, right? I'm asking Courtney.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
asking me? So I would think of in St. Paul, the Lyric as a project in the way that some of our communities have farmers markets under the Main Street organization. So if it's a sub entity that's owned and operated by the Main Street organization, then yes, that's their work and they should take credit for that.
Okay, so our farmers market is under St. Paul tomorrow. Also, our festival is St. Paul tomorrow. So we have to keep where the festival numbers count as well then.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's a lot of numbers. Okay,
That's because you're so successful, Kathy.
thank you so much.
I think Jenny has a question and then Ashley has her hand raised as well.
Yes, so Onancock Main Street did a Valentine's Day promotion just to get more people to visit during the shoulder season, and it was successful. Would that be counted as a promotion? And if so, it's a little bit difficult to track exactly how many people came to the town during that 2-week promotion.
So I would say that it does count.
Yeah.
And how you count the impact. Maybe you and Zachary can actually work out a methodology, but you really do want to know those numbers, Jenny, because that's how you're showing whether or not it was successful. That's how you
Well,
can report your impact to local
right.
government and
It's
sponsors.
hard to know if it's over a 2-week period of time, you know, how many people. We look at the sales impact for the businesses, but not necessarily how many people actually came to town.
I think, you know, on a case-by-case basis with these promotional and special events, I would encourage every community to approach them as you see fit, to where, you know, if a ticketed event obviously has tickets, that's much easier to track attendance. For something like that, Jenny, I think rough estimates are doing your best, and however, you know, Onancock Main Street kind of looks at that is up to you. I don't think that we necessarily have a right or wrong way per se, or a methodology. It's just about kind of doing your best to report that information.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
And I would have some specific ideas on how you could guesstimate attendance at something like that above and beyond your transaction information. But we can talk about that later.
Okay, thanks.
Ashley?
Yeah, so this is super small, but just looking at the difference between the two reports, I think just the only difference I'm seeing other than the reporting on our stuff is the splitting out of rehab versus new construction. That's new. And also the number of housing units. And so I'm bringing that up and just asking because, like, you know, I have to convince the person that gives me this information to give me this information. She doesn't track, how do I say this? How important is it that these reports are completely thoroughly complete for the past 3 months? I can get her to do this moving forward, but if we're missing a little bit of info from the past 3 months, is that going to be a significant issue?
I'll let Courtney chime in too, but I, again, just as I've recommended to my community, to do your best backtracking January through March. And if something is incomplete and you know that you can't get data, but it's more accessible perhaps in the near future, I would recommend you add that to a report, even if it had been completed in January or February.
I stepped out of the office for a second, so I might have missed that part of the conversation. Thanks.
That's okay.
And the previous form actually did ask for rehab versus new construction. It's just that no one was filling that section out because it was a pull down menu for like what type of project was this, and that was typically not reported. So National Main Street Center actually cares about whether it's rehab or new construction. Virginia state government does not.
Yeah,
I see it now. You're right. Thank you.
Yeah, the breakdown in the CAMS template does definitely allow us to more easily pull out that data than having to go into the database that we kept in Excel and trying to backtrack and manually count, you know, pinpointing what was new construction. So this just is a little bit easier for us based on what's required from Main Street America to track.
Thanks.
Jennifer.
Sorry if I missed this. Is there a particular date each month that you want the reporting done by? Or is
Well,
it going to fluctuate based on the month?
It's gonna fluctuate based on the month, whatever that date is, the first weekday after, the end of the month. It'll be technically due in CAMS at that point, so it will be flagged as overdue. But you're welcome to submit that report a week after that, 2 weeks after that. I mean, definitely not waiting and waiting, but as I mentioned earlier with Maggie's comment, just keeping in mind if it butts up against kind of a need to submit a remittance and draw down grant funding in CAMS, that will present an issue. But and I don't know if Courtney mentioned this in the very beginning, but having an overdue report here is not going to throw your organization out of compliance in CAMS. It's just going to affect the remittances. So your CAMS profile, all in all, will still be in compliance, even if you have an overdue report specifically.
The only truly hard deadline for this information is at the end of the year. So when the data bonanza is due in January is when we'll want to have all 12 months of the previous year up to date and ready to go, regardless of whether or not you have a remittance in the queue. So thank you guys for your patience. I know this was not your favorite topic and you all hung in there for the whole time. So please keep talking to each other about best practices. We'll be sure to follow up with an email with Nancy's survey example. And I have a photograph of Jackie and Lorraine's survey. She actually does a walking survey. So she does the old-fashioned clipboard and checklist, and it gets the job done. It doesn't have to be a high-tech tool. It just really depends on what works for you and for your community. So next slide, please. We're going to be updating some things. Oh yeah. Did you have something,
No, I was
Zachary?
just going to mention, as we kind of talked about, if you need assistance accessing or completing your monthly reports, the VMS team has created those instructions, which do include a things to consider section, and that features suggestions on how to best gather and report the data. We will be updating that based on some of the conversation today, as I mentioned. So just be on the lookout for me to send that out soon. This document is always going to be updated from time to time, and we'll let you know when that happens. Apart from the instructions, you can always reach out to me directly or your VMS representative. While we can provide technical assistance around using and navigating CAMS as well, I do recommend that everyone check out the CAMS user guide. That's a self-service resource, or contact the help desk if you have technical issues that we can't necessarily help you with. So, next slide. And now, if we need any more clarity around something, we're happy to.
And Ashley asked a question in the chat about when the spreadsheet version will be ready to share.
I will prioritize that and have something to everyone by the end of the week or sooner.
Thank you, Zachary. Well, we're starting to run a little bit up against our time, and I know people are hungry, and I don't want you to become hangry. So any last minute thoughts about how you would utilize the data that is being collected for your own purposes? Does anyone actually use the data locally?
I put the end of year numbers that Zachary gave to us in our annual report, and then I put it in some of that information too. I put it in my budget request to council just to show ROI.
And just to piggyback on Heather's comment too, having all of this in CAMS doesn't change anything as it relates to giving those numbers and information back to you at the end of the year or the beginning of the new calendar year, and we'll generate all those reports through Tableau on the back end of CAMS through DHCD and get those individual statistics, to you as well.
And I liked how you explained the different ratios where you're like, this means
Right, we'll still do that.
Yeah, the nice little sentence was helpful because then I didn't have to sit there and stare at it for a really long time to figure out how to word it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Courtney, we use the data all the time here in Marion for not only for our Main Street board and our Main Street partners, but also with town council, with state and federal agencies for grant writing, for publicity, for all the things that we do. I was one of the first ones to fuss about the Bonanza report until I did it. And then actually, after I got it done the first time, I saw how valuable it was. And everything we use is data driven. And it's a very concise way to put it all together. And Zachary, I like what you've done to the form. There's a lot of stuff on there that won't be changing a lot for us, like housing. If we have some new ones pop up, but that's going to be few and far between in our downtown at this point. But at a point in time, we went from 20 apartments to 130. So, there's been significant changes in that, and it's good to be able to track that, and also historically to look back and be able to track it. And I appreciate what you guys are doing on that.
Thanks, Ken.
And Ken, since I was the first one to do the data bonanza like 20 years ago, hearing you come around really warms my heart because
well,
for those of you who are fussing about it, Ken is there with you and he's come around.
I'm a believer now. It's kind of like the Methodist faith. At least if I've been sprinkled enough, I'm able to carry through. So we're good to go.
I believe, Karen, you're working on your first annual report, and I know that it was mentioned before, but is there anything specific you could give us an update about on that?
Sure. We just got our first draft. So the board has been reviewing it. And the funny thing is, as we're talking about the financials, that's the part they felt that we needed to beef up even more. So that's what we're looking at, is how do we take some of this information and graphically represent it along with some other data, because that's really what I think we struggle with more than anything, is making sure residents and our businesses and our stakeholders understand where our money goes and how the improvements are benefiting them. So yeah, we're excited about it. We can't wait. It'll be done on time, Kyle.
So just in case folks haven't seen in the chat, we've had a couple of folks mention how they use their data. In Gloucester, they share the reports in their board packets. In Whittville, they use the information to create their own infographics and help use that to shape the story about what's unique about their community. Any other thoughts about how this could be useful to you locally?
Is it ever used in a social media capacity? I don't know. Do you monthly report information like this to your council, or quarterly or something like that? How can you guys elaborate on this data? Because I know it goes beyond annual reports.
I can just say, Kyle, we used to do quarterly, now we do semi-annual, and we always include as much data measurement tools as possible. So we will use it then.
And I report to my council monthly, so I use it in my monthly reports when I'm reporting to council in open session. We use it. I'm using the numbers even in recruitment of looking at prospective businesses to join our Main Street, and using that and discussing the progress that we're making and that type of thing. So it's a good recruitment tool as well.
Thank you everyone for joining us today. I hope that you got something out of this, and feel free to continue to reach out if you have questions or concerns about the monthly reporting, quarterly reporting, annual reporting, depending on what your timeline is. I hope that you find benefit going forward with the data that you're collecting for all the purposes that you mentioned, reaching out to stakeholders and potentially recruiting new businesses. Thank you all for joining us today. And I think we'll break about 5 minutes early. So that means 5 more minutes for eating lunch and potentially chatting with each other behind the scenes, because I know that you do that. You've all got texts on your phones. So thanks everyone for being here, and hopefully we can talk to you again very soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks.